Welcome back to another video. My name is Hunter, and today we're going to get into how the NFL playoffs will shape out, in my opinion. The NFL playoffs, there's no time in the year where the stakes are higher on the gridiron, as 14 teams intend to cement their legacies by winning a Lombardi trophy. Teams either looking to create a new era of their franchise, teams looking to break years and decades long curses, and teams looking to continue their dominance in recent years. And with the NFL season going how it did in 2025, this playoffs is shaping up to be one of the greatest in recent memory. Before we get into it, like and subscribe. Playoff content incoming nonstop this week. I'm dealing with the flu right now, so wanted to get this video out yesterday, but I'm able to get it out today. And just make sure to like and subscribe. I should have a quarterback ranking and a defense ranking, and maybe even more coming out before the playoffs kick off on Saturday at 4:30. So I'm here on NFLPlayoffPredictors.com, and there you can see the 6 wildcard matchups that will happen this upcoming weekend. We're going to start with the one on the left, Panthers and Rams. The Panthers get in the playoffs for the first time in quite a while, and the Rams have been a playoff staple for the past few years. Both teams looking to prove something, though. The Rams did not finish the season how they wanted to, losing to the Seahawks and then Falcons in back-to-back weeks, but able to turn around in Week 18. While Carolina comes in off 2 losses, but due to the Falcons winning in Week 18, they're able to get into the playoffs, and anything could happen. These teams played at the beginning of December, and the Panthers were victorious. So the 8-9 Panthers hosting a playoff game against the Los Angeles Rams, anything could happen. But looking at this Los Angeles Rams team, they're just loaded. They're getting Devontae Adams back this week. Puka Nacua has been lights out when he's been on the field this year. Matthew Stafford is an MVP candidate. And look at that defense. Chris Shula runs a great unit over there. So it's pretty hard to say that the Panthers can beat this Rams team twice. And I'm going with the Los Angeles Rams to win on Saturday. Next, moving on to the Eagles and the 49ers. Two teams with a very storied rivalry in recent years. We remember back to a few years ago, there's fights on the field, but these two teams are looking different than they did back then. The Eagles have won a Super Bowl since then, and the Niners have yet to climb to that level. What should the Eagles and Niners expect in this matchup? The Eagles are rolling in, resting their starters in Week 18, but have been able to win games towards the end of the season and end that rough patch they had in late November to early December, while the Niners have the 1 seed as a possibility. They lose at home in Santa Clara, and this Niners team just continues to get injured. Their defensive unit has just not been able to stay healthy the entire year, while the Eagles have been able to build something on defense in recent weeks with the addition of Jalen Phillips at the deadline and certain players coming up big. I think that's going to be the big difference in this one. The Eagles are just a healthier team, and they're coming off a Super Bowl win. They're looking to defend their title, and in an atmosphere such as Philly, I'm not sure if the Niners can keep up in this one. I'm going with the Philadelphia Eagles. Next, I have the Bears and the Packers, where this is a storied rivalry. This year, they've produced 2 of the best games of the year, where it came down to the final play of the game. The Packers win in Lambeau, the Bears win in Chicago. This game will be in Chicago, and unfortunately for the Packers, they're coming into the playoffs losing 4 games in a row. They've lost a lot of players due to injury in that time span, while the Bears have lost 2 in a row. Both times that these teams last won a game, it was against the team they're playing right now in the first round. And Caleb Williams' first playoff game in the Packers' third straight year as the 7 seed in the NFC. This should produce a lot of fireworks, but I'm going to go with the healthier team here. I'm going to go with the Chicago Bears just based off of the Packers have not been able to win a game for a majority of December and really don't look like the same team that they were at the high points of their season. And unfortunately, injuries have just caught up to this roster. I'm going to go with Chicago. Steelers, Texans. This one is a bit easier than the matchups in the NFC, as the Steelers really, I don't know how they did it, but they were able to win that game in Week 18 in dramatic fashion. Aaron Rodgers gets one more chance at the playoffs, but he rolls into Pittsburgh playing potentially the best team in the NFL over the second half of the season. This team in the Texans has not lost in a very long time, and their team is just very stacked. You look at their defense, they're the number 1 defense for a reason. Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson are just threats on the defensive end, while Kamari Lassiter, Jalen Petrie, Derek Stingley, among others, creates a terrifying secondary to play against. And it's pretty hard to bet against this Texans team that has just found ways to win every single game that they played for the last couple of months. Jaguars Bills, easily the toughest game for me, where it comes down to who will show up more in this game, the Jaguars defense or the Bills defense. Josh Allen has been on a different level for most of his career, but looking at Jacksonville, this team has been on a different level since their bye week. Trevor Lawrence is looking like one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL right now, and looking at the Buffalo Bills, this team doesn't look the same as they have in past years. I'm going to go with Jacksonville here just based off the fact that I think Jacksonville is the hotter team right now, and I trust their defense over a Bills defense that has struggled at certain points of the season. Next, Patriots Chargers. Two teams that really seem perfect to match up against each other here. You have Justin Herbert, you have Drake May, two of the most efficient quarterbacks in the AFC playing here in the first round. The Patriots defense has been key at many points of the season, and the Chargers defense, we know why Jesse Minter is a top head coaching candidate for this upcoming offseason because he's just been able to do great stuff with that defense. But I think New England is just a better team here. I think Drake May is more than likely your MVP. I think he just proved more in the last few weeks than Matthew Stafford did. While the Chargers have really just began to lose games over the past final weeks of the season, and I just think that the Patriots are a more efficient team and more prepped, and especially that they will be at home. I'm going with New England here. Moving on to the divisional round, I have LA versus Seattle is the first matchup that I'm going to talk about. And really, I think these are your two best teams in the NFC. Just elite on both sides of the ball when they can be. And that's the big factor for Seattle is this team has an incredible defense. But looking at their offense, if they get offensive consistency for 3 games in a row, this team will win the Super Bowl. And going back to their matchups, similar thing to the Bears Packers I just discussed. Both teams in the regular season won when they were at home. And Seattle will be at home in this situation. And Seattle's defense did not do a great job when they played for the second time. But Seattle's offense maybe did the best they did the entire season in that game. And that just shows that Seattle's offense is able to show up when it matters. And looking at Seattle, I think they'll do a better job stopping the Rams in a third matchup. And Seattle should have won the first matchup between these teams if Sam Darnold didn't throw 4 picks. So I just think there's a higher possibility of things going right for the Seahawks, and I think they will best the Rams and move on to host the NFC Championship game. Now moving on to the Eagles and the Bears, two teams that played on Black Friday this season, where it was a close matchup. The Bears were able to win it in Philly. This time it will be in Chicago, and I think it'll be the opposite result. I have the away team in the Eagles just due to the more experience that this team has. I just think Chicago's been a little too inconsistent over the course of the season. And despite the Eagles losing to this Bears team, it was when this team was struggling. And I think the Eagles have packed it together over the past few weeks. And I think that in a rematch against the Bears, they would come out on top and move on to another NFC Championship game. Next, Jaguars Patriots. Such an intriguing matchup between Trevor Lawrence and Drake May, two of the better quarterbacks in the NFL over this season. And really looking at it, Mike Vrabel, Liam Cohen, potentially your top two guys for Coach of the Year this year. And I think New England is the better team here. I think I trust in New England's offense slightly more than Jacksonville's offense, and I trust in New England's defense a bit more than Jacksonville's defense. I think New England moves on to the AFC Championship. Now going on to the Houston Texans and the Denver Broncos. Denver has been wildly inconsistent. They're a team that many NFL fans have called frauds the entire year. And if you look at how they've won games, it's safe to say that that is a possibility. That this Denver team just scrapes by and was able to get 14 wins this season just by their ability to pull it out late. But if you look at this Broncos defense, there is a reason that they're the number 1 seed. Just lethal at every position on that defense. The main problem is their offensive inconsistency. They've had many games this season where their offense has not shown up. And you could say the same for the Houston Texans, who are their opponent here, where CJ Stroud has not been the quarterback he was his rookie year, since his rookie year. And this season, he's had his highs, he's had his lows. Who do I trust more, CJ Stroud or Bo Nix? I'm going to go the more experienced CJ Stroud because I believe this Texans defense is better than the Broncos defense, and I trust the Texans offense more. I trust Texans on either side of the ball, and I think that they will win and advance to the AFC Championship game. Now it's time to discuss the conference championship weekend where I have the Seattle Seahawks hosting the Philadelphia Eagles and the New England Patriots hosting the Houston Texans. Both of these games would be excellent in my opinion. Let's start with the NFC Championship. Seattle, Philly. These teams did not play this season, but really, Philadelphia, I have them just here because I think that they are just more experienced than most of the teams in this NFC field, and they have the ability to just win football games. But Seattle has just been a great team for the entirety of this season. You look at their losses, they've only lost by 3, 3, and 2. The Seattle team just fails to lose games, and Philly has found ways to blow games this year. Both quarterbacks have had their inconsistencies, but I think Seattle's defense is just much better than that Philly defense at points, and Seattle will move on to the Super Bowl and move on to Super Bowl 60. Now, time for the AFC Championship between the Houston Texans and the New England Patriots. Really, two teams that, if you told me at week 3 that I would have them in the AFC Championship, I wouldn't believe you because this Texans team did not start off the way that they've looked for the majority of the season. And New England has just lit a fire for the entirety of this season. And really, who do I have winning this matchup? They say defense wins championships. I think the Texans defense would just suffocate Drake May in a game like this. And if the Texans offense is able to be somewhat consistent, I think the Texans will go to the Super Bowl. They just look very complete in recent weeks. They just don't find ways to lose anymore. And I think Houston will move on to the Super Bowl, meaning that in Santa Clara on February 8th, 2026, you have Seattle and Houston. Two teams that I wouldn't have had in the Super Bowl before the season started. I had Seattle missing the playoffs before the season started. I had the Texans being out in the first round when the season started. It really comes to show how these teams have progressed over the course of the season, and this would be your top two defenses in the NFL squaring off. And Sam Darnold, CJ Stroud, two quarterbacks that are not at the top of their game at most weeks, but are able to put together important games when it matters. And the fact that these two teams have made it to this point would just be incredible for both franchises. But I trust the Seattle offense and their run game and just the ability to throw to JSN more than the Texans. And I think that's the difference in this game. It would be a low scoring Super Bowl, but ultimately that's the brand of football that both these teams like to play. And Seattle is ultimately my team to win Super Bowl 60 just based off of how consistent they've been for the course of this season. And ultimately, I just think they're the most complete team. I rank them at number 1 in my power rankings for the last few weeks of the season, and they've proven in many games, time and time again, that they're a complete football team. But that's going to do it for this playoff predictions. Let me know what you have as your Super Bowl. Who do you have playing in Santa Clara in February? And I will be reacting to so many comments. I will be here and be on the lookout for more playoff content coming this week.